Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
I'm Casualty Chris.
And I'm Father Malone.
And we are the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt that originally aired on HBO from 1989 to 1996.
Now, on each of these podcasts, we do 2 episodes of the television series, and along the way, we've been taking looks at some tangentially related tales, ephemera, like other anthology movies and movies that were actually based on Tales from the Crypt as well. And at some point in the future, we will not cover the children's game show because it is terrible. Don't watch it.
Why not?
It's so bad.
It's so good.
So bad.
Tales from the Crypt, the game show. God, what is the name of that show?
Something Crypt Keeper.
Oh, Crypt Keeper's Crypt of Love? Oh, no, that was the dating
it.
show that they did.
Yeah, exactly.
Crypt of Love. I'd watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that show. Crypt of Love. However,
write that down.
Yeah, right. However, on this episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're looking at Season 4, Episode 11 and 12. This is actually the penultimate episode of our show before the final episode of Season 4 of the show. On this episode, we are talking about split personality and strung along.
Oh, hello, kiddies. Tonight's coffin caper is so crammed with ghastly greed, sickening sex, and vomitous violence that parental guidance is advised. So, guide your parents out of the room so we can have some fun. This tale concerns a gambling man with a bad case of double vision who's about to hit the hackpot. I call this twin helping of horror split personality.
So, Split Personality aired August 26th, 1992. It is directed by Joel Silver and written by our good friend, the one and only Mr. Fred Decker. And it stars Joe Pesci, 2 actresses who probably, I know for a fact, haven't worked in anything else for the most part of note, and Burt Young. And Joey Pantoliano is in here too, isn't he?
He sure is.
I'm just going to come out and say it. I unabashedly love this episode.
Yeah.
Not a fan, huh?
There's a lot I like in the episode, actually.
I mean, Joe Pesci's performance is great.
And, you mentioned that this is directed by mega producer Joel Silver. Probably his directorial debut. So it is a stacked deck of talent behind the camera and almost in front of the camera. Like Jan de Bont shot this one. He was a cinematographer on it.
That's shocking. Jan de Bont, director of such classics as Twister. Because when you direct Twister, you know you're a cinema classic.
There you go. Jan de Bont was, he was a cinematographer for a long, long time. So, this is beautifully shot. And the sets that they have are great. And the locations are good. The thing is, I think you take an actor like Joe Pesci and your mileage varies from role to role. This one seemed not to be my favorite performance of Mr. Pesci.
The issue with Joe Pesci's performance is he has having to do the split personality thing, and the character that's supposed to be like the Californian is really dumb.
It's just Joe Pesci with a ponytail,
which is like Joe Pesci in films that he's been in.
Yeah, and
which is Joe Pesci is isn't his character's name in Moonwalker Mr. Big? Isn't it just him as Mr. Big from Moonwalker?
Oh yeah, certainly was. Remarkably similar character.
Yeah.
I'm not asking him necessarily to, go for King Lear with the second personality, but how about just something a little different?
Yeah, it feels a little one note. The performance does when he's doing the other version of himself. But I can kind of overlook it because I love Joe Pesci. I really do. I really just love Joe Pesci as an actor.
Look, no question. I think he's a good actor too. It's just that a little of him goes a long way. He's always best when he's playing a supporting part.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, look, we really haven't talked about The Irishman, and your mileage will vary on a 3.5 hour film. Which is
as it does.
Yeah, and honestly, again, I've said it before, and I've said it again on other podcasts. I didn't really like The Irishman at all, frankly. But it's no fault of I would say Russell Buffalino. That is his character's name. It's no fault of Joe. It's no fault of Joe Pesci. Because I think anyone who watches that film comes away from the film with the opinion that Joe Pesci and Al Pacino are actually really good in the movie. The issue is De Niro is not good at all.
Right, and then Joe Pesci, he has been really good in lots and lots of films. Like, I think his role in Raging Bull is so good, man. Clearly Goodfellas. Anything Scorsese related is going to be good. Not so much Gone Fishing or The Public Eye. But I do agree that this is a fun episode. Like, the tone of it is good. Like, occasionally we've mentioned they have like sort of comedic episodes which are in no way funny. This one felt like frothy, lighthearted.
It's very comedy forward.
Yeah, and his performance is sort of attuned to that.
Yeah, I mean the whole South Californian surfer. I don't know what to explain. What justification you could use for that. That shtick that he's doing, but it's not funny.
No, not at all.
And the Citron sisters are also not good. They're actually...
Yeah, I was just about to say that Pesci is not the worst thing in this episode. I'm a little disappointed that he didn't stretch for the second character he was playing, but if there's a black hole at the center of the episode, it's those twins. Good Lord.
Yeah, they're very pale. They kind of have a unique look to them. And then you have Joe Pesci kind of running circles around them acting-wise. And obviously that they killed their dad. From the second they talk about it. So...
Yeah. We should mention, or at least I want to mention, that Split Personality, as most Tales from the Crypt episodes, is not based on a Tales from the Crypt comic. It's from Vault of Horror. Specifically Vault of Horror number 30 with art by it was written also by Johnny Craig, who was he was a huge guy mostly at Vault of Horror. And I gotta say the story in the comic is almost exactly the same. It doesn't have the trappings of Southern California necessarily. It is about a con man who figures out that these two spinster-like twin sisters have a fortune and he wants to get it. It's very similar, even down to the, which I thought was the most clever part of the episode, when he's sunbathing and the belt from his robe ends up on his back and it gives away the con. So that's all in there, even down to the sort of a big reveal at the end that they've cut him up. What the comic doesn't have, aside of the Southern California portion, is the idea that there's a drawer that he can't look into where we're going to figure out that the sisters are homicidal from the get-go. But you kind of knew that anyway, just looking at him, right?
I mean, that's the thing. It's one of these Tales from the Crypt episodes that it tries to act like it's got a secret, but it doesn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
There's that they killed their dad.
Yeah, certainly. And let me point out there very quickly, when they show the picture of the father, that's Richard Donner.
Yeah, right. Great.
More incestuousness from the Tales from the Crypt behind-the-scenes crew.
I think, though, for all of its faults, I do still like it. It's still a fun episode.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes where my criticisms aren't dismissive as they are sort of constructive. Like, I think this is a really good episode. I think it could have been a great episode. That's sort of why I'm hammering on what seem like quibbles. But it gets close. Like, the tone of it is really good. I actually like Fred Decker's script a lot in this particular case. And yeah, it's it doesn't quite get the ball over the line.
As much as I like the payoff, it does kind of feel like it loses steam right there at the end. And again, it also tries to be like, oh, you didn't see this coming. It's like, no, this is Tales from the Crypt. We saw this coming from a mile away.
Yeah, it's called Split Personality, for God's sake.
Yeah. Like, with a title like that, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, and I gotta say, man, the Joe Pesci dummy is terrible.
The Joe Pesci dummy is great. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's really bad.
The Joe Pesci
really
dummy is amazing.
Shockingly so. I wonder if he was just like, no, I'm not getting a cast of my head done. Forget it. And they just kind of made one. What they Madame Tussauds'd it. My
other quibble with this episode is the idea of, like, you're splitting him in half, but you're killing him. You guys know that, right?
Well, see,
wouldn't it be better for them to just all three live in the same house together?
Yeah, well, what's funny is, yeah, I mean, it would make sense for those characters. In the comic, like, as I said, there's no sort of homicidal backstory to them. They're just, eccentric women living alone. They, their fathers sort of browbeat them into thinking that the outside world is bad for them. And when they discover that this man has been fooling them the entire time, they fly into they lose their minds. So it actually makes more sense in the comic that they just sort of unthinkingly split him down the middle and, like, each took a half, because they're both completely insane now. But, like, the characters that we got, as homicidal as their background seems to be, seem like they were pretty even-keeled otherwise. So doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they're now comfortable with having a half of a Pesci.
And boy, they love that half of a Pesci. Which is, I think, the
half of Pesci goes a long way.
Yeah, the half of Pesci is probably the most disturbing part of the episode because of how poorly it translates on screen.
But I'm going to recommend this one. Watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend it as well. But there's a little bit of goofiness towards the end, and with Joe Pesci's performance. So, well, let's talk about the next episode, Strung Along.
Yes, that's better. Oh, hello, boars and ghouls. I hope you'll excuse me if I don't get up. I'm a little stiff today. Then again, I'm a little stiff every day. Actually, I twisted my neck playing croquet. But it wasn't hurting the way I thought it should, so I called my chiropractor. Of course, some people look elsewhere for their pain. Like the old man in tonight's Terror Tale. His idea of an antibiotic was to marry a younger woman. I call this plasma play Strung Along.
So Strung Along aired September 2nd, 1992. It stars Donald O'Connor, Patrice Charbonneau, and Zach Galligan of Gremlins fame. It's directed by Kevin Yeager. Yes, that Kevin Yeager. Effects man Kevin Yeager. It's based on a screenplay by Kevin Yeager and Yale Udoff. And it's not good. Because it's another love triangle episode.
Yeah.
And how many of these fucking love triangle episodes do we really need to see?
No, not all of them, because we're getting all of them. I actually I kind of like this one, but I do agree the love triangle is the problem with the episode.
I mean, the unfortunate thing about these love triangle episodes is even when you have one like this where it's trying to do something different, it still feels very samey. Right?
Yeah, but at the same, I totally agree. But at the same time, in this particular episode, I think they're, to me, Donald O'Connor is a cinema giant, And to see him again sort of in his later years and as fully committed to this role as he was to any sort of dance routine he did back in the day, that was very heartening. And I liked his story. I liked the interaction with the puppets and everything. And I don't know. I like this more than you, but I do, as I do, want to point out that Strung Along is also from Vault of Horror. This was Vault of Horror number 33. This one was written by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, the guys who ran EC Comics, and it was drawn by Graham Engels, who is a magnificent artist. The comic is not wildly different, but different in that there is no love triangle. That's kind of the beauty of it. And but the wife has still come to the same conclusion that she doesn't want to be around him anymore. That she gave up her dreams thinking he was this a beloved entertainer who was very popular, and she thought that was going to last forever, and he didn't care about that. He just wanted to retire. So she thought she was getting one lifestyle and ended up with another. And then she causes his heart attack, but as he's dying, he's talking to his puppets, telling them goodbye effectively. And he doesn't die initially, and later on his wife, who is basically told him, I hate you and I never wanted to be with you and you were disgusting and blah, 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 forcing the heart attack on him. She comes back into the room, as he's finally going, and apologizes to him and lays down with him, and he dies happily. But she had already been dead. The puppets themselves had gone and killed her and marionetted her back into the room in order to assuage his misery at the end of his life, which is spectacular, man. How they can cram a fucking how they cram. Look, there are some delights in this particular episode. The thing that causes the heart attack, where he thinks his puppet is killing her, and it turns out to be trickery. I really like that one a lot, and I think they could have kept that in somehow. But why they strayed from that original story is beyond me. It would have been really kind of poetic and beautiful, which is not something you ever get from a Tales from the Crypt episode. And it's doing it in a twisted Tales from the Crypt kind of way, where his wife's corpse is being marionetted by puppets in order to apologize to this man to make him feel good before he dies. I don't know. Missed the boat on that one, writers of this particular episode.
Yeah, it feels like to me they just this episode, more than a lot of episodes, feels very phoned in.
It's this is the second Kevin Yeager episode we've seen, and as an effects man, he does all of the Crypt Keeper segments on the show. He's spectacular, and the effects in this are spectacular. It's just that I don't think he's that great a director. I mean, he's okay, he's serviceable, but he's not really bringing anything more to the table. And a story like this needed a kind of, not a visionary necessarily, but somebody with a vision for it. And instead of just giving us the same sort of Tales from the Crypt plot, which is not even a Tales from the Crypt plot. It's most of those episodes, these love triangles are ported over from shock suspense stories, which, irony is a trademark of Tales from the Crypt, but we need blood, man.
It's a little weird to me that they didn't do as much with this episode as I thought they were going to. And I always watch this episode thinking that there's going to be more to it, and then there ends up not being anything to it.
Yeah, it's just, you're cheating on me.
For an episode about a retired puppeteer and a love triangle, there feels like there's so many places you could go with that, and they don't go anywhere with it.
No, that's the thing. It's okay, well, we want to make it this love triangle. Okay, then make it the most interesting of any of them. I don't even know how I could improve that or attempt to give them some hints as far as that goes, but yeah, man, don't give us the same standard shit. Fake death, real puppets come to life. Yeah, okay. It just seems so by the numbers as far as the script goes, which is a drag, because this one had so much potential.
I think what's disappointing for me is, you've got good actors, which I feel like we say that every time.
Yeah.
Zach
it tends to be
Zach
true.
Galligan's great, and Patricia Charbonneau is great.
Zach Galligan of Waxwork fame.
Donald O'Connor's great, and it doesn't seem to matter.
No, that's kind of the heartbreaking portion of this. they give him stuff to do, but he doesn't get that, like the emotional moment that could have come from the sort of initial comics idea. Like, kind of needed that, kind of deserved that, definitely deserved it. I mean, he's a massive talent.
Yeah, and I think ultimately we just have this weird kind of, not, I wouldn't say outright failure of an episode, but failure enough.
It's not up there with the best, but like I said, there's enough.
I feel like
in
the
it
best
that I really
list is a
enjoyed.
very small list.
It's getting smaller.
It feels like it.
I thought it was going to be expanding exponentially as we dove into the whole series, but like truly great episodes are sort of few and far between. I guess that's true of any TV series, though.
It feels that way, but considering how, like, I think when you and I started out doing this, we both had probably maybe too high of hopes.
A little bit.
And now
but,
and now it feels like that's kind of come back to kind of bite us a little bit.
A little bit, because now it seems like the quality of the episodes in that first season were really good, and a couple in the second season as well, so that it's gotten to the point where it feels like an episode that doesn't completely insult me with its stupidity, like, gets a pass. Like, yeah, that was a good one. Like, was it, though? Probably not. But comparatively, oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, within reason, it was actually pretty good. That's the way I look at it. Like, looking at everything else that we've seen, this is decent. But yeah, no, I completely agree. There's part of me that just sits and goes, God, it feels like just another Tales from the Crypt missed opportunity. Yeah,
and it always seems like it just took one little element, and they could have turned the whole thing around, and they say it about every sort of filmed entertainment, but it really is the script. Like, you got to have somebody who's willing to go to the unusual and interesting place, rather than just go, oh, hey, I'm going to be writing on Tales from the Crypt. So what happens? I don't know, a guy comes out of the ground, and, there's a cheating wife, and there's an episode. Go do it.
I think that's the funniest part, is you're given essentially carte blanche to do whatever you want.
It definitely seems that way, because there are certain episodes where it's just like that shared a title with that original comic. So yeah, it seems like, why do something just sort of rote when you really are given carte blanche? It's, here's the story, whatever you want to do with it, we're cool. And
I don't
we get
understand.
episodes like these two, which are good, but they're not great, but worth a watch, I think.
I think so too. I think that there needs to be, I don't know, I'm not going to say I like this episode enough to suggest it, but it's very close.
A soft pass, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, this is a soft pass, but this is also, for me, one of those episodes that I feel like gets lost in the shuffle. Like, I didn't remember this episode. Did you?
I honestly don't think I saw this one in the initial run.
Yeah. So there's my point. You know what I mean? This is one that just kind of gets lost in the kind of existence of everything else on the show, which, I mean, with a show that has as many seasons as this show did, with as many episodes as this show did, it's hard not to get lost in the shuffle, frankly.
Yeah. What's funny is I had remembered seeing Split Personality, and when it started up, and it listed these two girls as the twins in it, I thought, no, this is with Judy and Audrey Landers, right? Because I had never seen this episode. I had seen an episode of an HBO series from the sort of mid '80s called The Hitchhiker, which was a different horror anthology story, and they had a story with Audrey and Judy Landers, who are twins, obviously, and they're in love with the same guy, and they split him down the middle,
just like this.
So,
not even an original concept. Isn't that fun?
No, man. Yeah, they're just, it's good enough. Get it out there. Anyway, I do recommend this particular episode, though. I do. It's a watch from me. I think it's worthwhile. I think some of the effects are really kind of creepy and cool, and Donald Connor's performance at the center is really heartfelt. So, definitely a watch.
I just wanted more of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. It needed to be crazier. Or do it like that original comic and make it poetic.
Yeah, it's Tales from the Crypt. Do something rather than nothing.
You know, the funny thing is the other Kevin Yeager episode is Lower Birth, about the Crypt Keeper's parents, the sort of carny creatures. And I felt the same way at the end of that episode, where I thought this should have been beautiful at the end. It shouldn't have been, here's the twist and here's the shocker. It should have elevated the series in some way.
Yeah, it's like that episode has something to say.
Yeah.
At least it's supposed to.
And didn't. And he could have done it again here, so... I don't know. Kevin Yeager, if you're going to direct anything else, figure out a way to make it poetic at the end. All the elements are there already.
Well, and again, that's, in my mind, that's the biggest bummer. It's like, you don't even really have to do much. It's already kind of set up. It's already set up for you.
Yeah, it's just missing a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So, on the next episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be talking about the final 2 episodes of Season 4. Werewolf Concerto and Curiosity Killed. Werewolf Concerto is an episode featuring Timothy Dalton. And Curiosity Killed is an episode that I remember. I don't know why I remember it so vividly, but I do.
It's because of the makeup.
It's real bad.
It's really bad.
Melting candle face people.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Someone want to spray some water on them, make them look a little human?
Yeah, right. So, until then, where can people find you, Father Malone?
You can hear me over on my, you can see me. No, you can't see me, but it is a YouTube channel, Ot5 Films, my show you've never seen about little movies that need more love. You can also hear me over on Dreams for Sale, the Twilight Zone 85 podcast, where you and I and Mr. Mike White discuss the first and only decent revival of the Twilight Zone from 1985. And you can hear me on the Culture Cast sometimes.
Less often than I would like.
Well, that's about to be remedied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
As for myself, you can find me on the aforementioned Culture Cast, Dreams for Sale. I also do a podcast called The One Season Show with my friend Jess Byard, where we talk about TV shows that only lasted one season. ChroniclesFTC.com is where you can find the podcast, and at ChroniclesFTC is where you can find us on Twitter. Big thanks as always to John Kassir for the intro to the podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode.